This is Arvin Vohra, founder of Vohra Method and author of The Equation for Excellence, How to Make Your Child Excel at Math. And in this video, I'm going to explain how using occasional targeted one-on-one tutoring sessions can actually reduce the cost of your Vohra Method group class program. I designed Vohra Method because I wanted to make a system that would allow people to get access to the kind of individualized, very responsive education that we offer in tutoring at a fraction of the cost. And that's what Vohra Method does. At a fraction of the cost of elite high-end private tutoring, we're able to provide that same kind of academic individualization, individual targeting that you can only see at that level. And this is generally something you can only see in tutoring, and you only really see it in the best tutoring. You only see it in the most elite tutoring, where tutors understand how to discover underlying gaps and then address them. Now, Vohra Method is really good at some things and not designed at all to do other things. It is really good at discovering underlying academic gaps and addressing those. So, for example, if you're struggling with calculus because you actually don't know how to do exponents, then Vohra Method's going to find that issue and fix that issue. On the other hand, Vohra Method is not good for psychological and very deep-seated perceptual or cognitive type issues. In those circumstances, tutoring is going to end up actually costing less and often being a lot more effective as well. So let's take a look at the standard case first to illustrate this. I suppose that a student needs to learn negative exponents. If you want to do well on the SAT, you have to know negative exponents. And under most circumstances, the group class would take about an hour to, not just to teach the topic, but to find the underlying gaps, address the underlying gaps, cover the original subject, in this case negative exponents, and make sure that the mastery is there. That would take about an hour of group class under normal circumstances. In tutoring, it would also take about an hour. Now, in group class, therefore, you'd spend $30. In tutoring, you'd spend $100. And obviously, here, group class is the clear winner. And if I was looking at this decision, I would go with group class because the price difference here is staggering. If you're considering doing tutoring with me or Chelsea, which is more expensive, I would even more definitely choose the group class in this type of circumstance. Now let's make things a tiny bit more complicated. Let's say you have some beyond the usual. I'm not talking about just usual nervousness or something like that. Beyond the usual psychological or cognitive issues. Those aren't as quickly addressed in group class. Now let's say you have just a little bit of that, right? Still mostly academic, but there's a little bit of the other complications in there. In that circumstance, a group class might take 3 hours, cost $90. Tutoring might take 1 hour, cost $100. Group class here is still cheaper, but it's not much cheaper. And if I was looking at a price difference like this, I would probably just take tutoring. I mean, with tutoring, you do get certain X factors, certain bonding between the student and the teacher, the ability to pick up on other nuances that might not be as apparent in a group class. Now let's look at a situation where things are even more complicated. The complication level goes up with, and we're not talking about academic issues here. This is not if you've missed 5 years of math at school. Those are still academic gaps, and for academic gaps, fastest, cheapest, just do it in the group class. That at least I would just do it in the group class. That to me would be the most effective way to do it. Dealing with something complicated, the group class might take 6 hours. Tutoring would still take about an hour. To have a student learn negative exponents. And that includes, of course, addressing the underlying gaps that are preventing a student from picking up the skill and all that kind of stuff. It's not just presenting the information. That would take 5 minutes. It's building up all the underlying skills. Group class might take 6 hours. Tutoring might take an hour. And in this situation, the group class is going to actually cost more. So in this situation, tutoring is the clear winner. It costs less. You're going to get the same results for less money. So in this circumstance, to me, this is a no-brainer. You'd obviously go tutoring. It's less money. Now, here's where things get really significant. If you're dealing with a very complex situation, and by the way, if you're dealing with a very complex situation, you're not going to be surprised that a very complex situation came up. You probably dealt with maybe some other ones in related areas. But suppose you're doing a very complex situation regarding, in this case, negative exponents. We're still talking about one subtopic at a time, right? We're not talking about the entire program being tutoring. We're talking about just one topic. So if you have a very complicated situation and a lot of psychological and cognitive issues that are probably feeding off of each other and creating just a really an unpleasant perfect storm of confusion, in that circumstance, the group class might take 20 hours or more, might not even work. Tutoring would take about 1.5 hours. Now here, tutoring is going to take longer too, right? I mean, an hour of tutoring, if it's something this complicated, it's not going to take an hour of tutoring. It'll take a little longer. So it'll take 50% longer in this case. So maybe an hour and a half of tutoring. But even in that circumstance, tutoring here is the clear financial winner. Now, I'm not talking about doing the entire program in tutoring. If you're doing SAT training, if you do the entire program in tutoring, obviously it's going to cost more. I'm talking about doing targeted tutoring. So how do you know when you should do this? Well, to us, it's generally pretty obvious. So we're going to be sending you recommendations for whatever topic a student is doing that particular day, whether or not we think you'd save any money with tutoring. By and large, most of the time you won't. Most of the time, the group class is going to be the cheapest. If, however, we believe that you're dealing with one of these other situations, we'll let you know that we think that tutoring will save you dollars, that you'll actually pay less money total to get to where you need to be. We'll let you know if that's going to be the circumstance. If you never get a recommendation from us to do tutoring, here's my just general bit of advice. The fastest programs are generally the combined programs. The fastest, cheapest programs are combined programs where there's a mixture of tutoring and group class. And what's the ideal ratio? What I would say is at minimum, you should try to do at least 1 hour of tutoring a month. It doesn't have to be every week or anything like that. If you're doing a lot of group class, that's in addition to the normal 4 hours of group class a week, which is generally my minimum recommendation. If you have any questions about any part of this, just send us an email at learn@vohramethod.com. We can set up a free consultation, go over any part of this that's confusing or puzzling. I know the idea of the more expensive thing, tutoring, actually costing less and less expensive thing can be a little unexpected. We can I'll do my best to explain that to you and how it applies to that student's specific case, so you can make an informed decision. If you have any questions, email me at learn@vohramethod.com.